The dawn over Gettysburg arrives heavy with gunpowder and dread, the humid air trembling under the roar of artillery. Mud and shattered earth churn beneath 1,000 desperate boots. Union and Confederate banners flicker in the smoke, their bearers squinting against the chaos as bayonets crash and horses scream. Every inch of ground is fought for, with the certainty that history itself is being written in blood. Cannonades thunder across the fields, the sky a haze of fear and iron. Amid the carnage, exhausted faces, boys in blue, men in gray, search for hope or surrender, clinging to muskets and memories of home. The future of a divided nation hangs by a thread. Then, as the battle's fury peaks, the impossible stirs in the morning mist. A shadow, vast and unnatural, eclipses the sun. Steel towers, alien and immense, rise where no ship should be. What if, on this fateful morning, the impossible happened? What if a modern aircraft carrier landed in the heart of Gettysburg? Rising from the mist, the Gerald R. Ford-class supercarrier utterly dwarfs everything Gettysburg has ever known. Stretching more than 3 football fields in length, its steel hull gleams with the arrogance of modern engineering, built to shrug off hurricanes and hostile fleets alike. On its vast flight deck, F-35 stealth fighters crouch like predatory birds, ready to leap into a sky where the most advanced flying machine was, until now, a hot air balloon. Deep within the ship's armored heart, twin nuclear reactors hum with power enough to light a city for 20 years. Over 4,500 sailors and aviators move through labyrinthine corridors lined with radar screens, missile silos, and technology that would make even Tesla doubt his sanity. The ship's arsenal mocks the very idea of a fair fight. Tomahawk cruise missiles, anti-aircraft batteries, rapid-fire CIWS cannons. It bristles with sensors that can spot a musket flash from miles away. To 1863 eyes, this is no ship. It's an iron colossus, a floating city, a mechanical god descended from Olympus, rewriting every rule of war. For a quick reality check, the Confederacy's latest tech is the ironclad. Slow, leaky, barely armored, and suddenly about as threatening as a rowboat armed with a slingshot. Across the scarred fields of Gettysburg, 2 titanic armies clash in a struggle that will shape a continent's destiny. The Union's Army of the Potomac, battered but unbowed, digs in behind stone walls and battered fences, blue uniforms grimy, but spirits unbroken. Opposite them, the Army of Northern Virginia surges forward, gray ranks moving with lethal determination, their charge fueled by dreams of Southern independence and bitter resolve. Each man shoulders a battered musket, a precious handful of cartridges, or a saber gleaming with cold intent. Their artillery, iron and sweat, hurls fire across the smoke-choked valleys, hoping to tip the scales with every thunderous shot. But for all their courage and cunning, these soldiers fight within the narrow margins of their era. Smoke, chaos, confusion, and rumor shaping every moment. They trust in grit, discipline, and their commander's boldness, never suspecting the world might change in an instant. In this crucible, their bravery is absolute, even as a new, unimaginable threat prepares to crash into their reality. At first, it's just a low, unnatural rumble, the kind that rattles bones and silences entire armies mid-charge. Then, with a groan of tortured earth, the carrier's impossible bulk settles onto the fields just south of Gettysburg, flattening fences, uprooting trees, and casting a shadow large enough to swallow regiments whole. Union pickets drop their rifles, jaws slack as a floating fortress appears where farmland stood minutes before. Confederate cavalry rein in their horses, the bravest among them crossing themselves, convinced they've witnessed either a miracle or a demon's arrival. Generals Lee and Meade stare skyward, struggling to reconcile their maps with the mountain of steel now dominating their battlefield. Panic spreads like wildfire. Some soldiers drop to their knees in prayer. Others scatter in every direction, while a few foolhardy souls raise their muskets and fire. Lead balls ping harmlessly off the carrier's hull, a sound more laughable than threatening. Battery commanders drag cannons into range, unleashing thunder that barely scratches the paint. From inside the carrier, a bewildered ensign squints at grainy CCTV feeds and mutters, Guys? We're not in Kansas anymore." In the chaos, both sides scramble to raise their flags and claim this iron island for glory, never dreaming what's about to unfold. As news of the Iron Island ripples through both armies, commanders shout themselves hoarse, trying to regain order. But confusion quickly morphs into bravado. Union artillery wheels into position, Confederate sharpshooters find perches on broken stone walls, and someone somewhere gives the order: charge. Thousands of men, blue and gray, surge toward the steel behemoth in a wave of courage and desperation. Bayonets fixed, banners aloft, convinced that overwhelming force might crack the mystery. The ground trembles with the sound of boots and hooves, muskets flashing in the smoky morning air. Then, with a hydraulic hiss and the whine of turbines, the carrier comes to life. On the flight deck, sleek F-35s ignite, screaming into the sky like thunderbolts hurled by angry gods. Sonic booms shatter windows from miles away, horses rear and bolt, and soldiers scatter like startled ants. Some drop their weapons, convinced the world is ending. General Lee stares upward, hat in hand, as a jet rips the clouds and vanishes, his face, in that instant, worth 1,000 paintings. Marines clad in body armor descend ramps, M4s at the ready, night vision goggles flickering in the dawn. Against muskets and cavalry, they might as well be invincible. A squad advances, taking scattered fire, then responds with precision. Smoke grenades bloom in impossible colors, drones buzz overhead relaying real-time images, and within minutes, the classic skirmish line is shredded. A cavalry unit charges, sabers gleaming, only to break apart under controlled bursts from automatic rifles, shock, awe, and utter futility in every hoofbeat. Still, the 19th century grit refuses to break. Union sappers crawl forward, trying to set powder charges under the carrier's hull. Confederates drag flaming carts and fire arrows, hoping to smoke out the metal monsters inside. Some bold souls attempt to scale the hull using makeshift ladders, while others wave white flags, praying for mercy or alliance. The ship's CIWS autocannons, mistaking cannonballs for incoming missiles, whir to life, spitting a wall of bullets that vaporizes everything in their path. Inside, the crew scrambles, part terrified, part bemused. "Did that guy just throw a sword at us?" someone asks, shaking their head. The field around Gettysburg is no longer a battlefield. It's a shattered theater, half apocalypse, half slapstick, with the gods of war holding all the cards. The future and the past are now hopelessly entangled. For all its godlike power, the supercarrier is as stranded as Robinson Crusoe. Nuclear reactors hum steadily below deck, but with no resupply ships on the horizon and no friendly port within centuries, every missile fired, every jet sortie, is one step closer to empty. The flight deck falls eerily quiet as F-35s guzzle the last drops of jet fuel. Wings folding in defeat. Engineers gather in tight knots, scratching their heads at maps with no GPS and radios that hiss only static. Rations dwindle, and soon the galley serves up cold MREs, alongside suspiciously tough local bread. Marines trade jokes about Wi-Fi withdrawal, but the mood darkens when someone mentions smallpox and the lack of antibiotics. Out on the wind-blown deck, officers stare at endless farmland and realize that, in a world without the internet or Netflix, even the mightiest gods are one bad fever or misstep away from becoming mortals again. When the smoke finally clears, the fields of Gettysburg lie scarred and transformed. Artillery is abandoned where it fell. Horses bolt through burning crops, and survivors, Union blue and Confederate gray, huddle together, stunned into silence by the spectacle of the iron giant that now owns the horizon. The battle isn't a victory or a defeat. It's an extinction-level event for 19th-century warfare. Muskets and cannons become relics overnight. Neither side can challenge the carrier, but the behemoth is no conqueror, marooned and rapidly burning through its last modern resources. Yet the shock waves ripple outward. Word spreads of impossible weapons and sky chariots, of thunder made flesh. Spies and diplomats converge, desperate to steal a sliver of alien power. Lincoln himself stands at the foot of the ship, eyes narrowed, pondering how one machine might save, or shatter, his nation. Confederate agents slip through the shadows, risking everything for blueprints and secrets. History leaps forward. Factories churn, inventors tinker, and somewhere, a locomotive engineer dreams of steam-powered jet engines. The American flag rises above the carrier, less a banner of triumph than a warning. In this new world, old certainties melt away, and the future charges ahead, part legend, part nightmare, all because the impossible came to Gettysburg. But what if Gettysburg wasn't the last battlefield to face the impossible? Picture the trenches of World War I, mud and wire stretching for miles. Then, slicing through the clouds, the silhouette of a modern fighter jet. Would raw speed and firepower rewrite history? Or would the chaos of the Great War bring new surprises? That's just one of countless what-ifs waiting to explode across time. So hit subscribe, drop your wildest scenario in the comments, and join us as we drag the future into the past. Because in this series, no war and no legend is safe from the ultimate twist.